You ever see something so wrong it don't just scare you, it rewires your idea of reality? That's what happened to me out on Route 12 somewhere past midnight, deep in the Arizona desert. I still don't know what I saw, but I'll never drive that stretch again. Now listen, I've been a long-haul trucker for damn near 20 years. I've seen snowstorms so thick you couldn't see the hood, seen weird lights out in the sky over New Mexico that I'll swear weren't planes, even picked up a few hitchhikers who gave me the heebie-jeebies. But this was something else. This was wrong. It all started on a run from Flagstaff to El Paso. I was hauling a refrigerated load, nothing special, and figured I'd knock out most of the trip overnight. I've always preferred night driving. Less traffic, smoother ride. Just you, the engine, and the road humming under your wheels. I was cruising easy down Route 12, a lonely two-lane highway that cuts through a stretch of desert that feels downright forgotten. No cell signal, no exits, not even a radio station. Coming through clean, just miles and miles of nothing. Then came the fog. I know, a fog in the Arizona desert at 3 a.m. sounds like nonsense. But I swear on my rig, a thick mist started rolling in out of nowhere, like the land was exhaling something ancient. My headlights barely cut through it. The world shrank to the size of my windshield. That's when I saw her. She was just standing there. Dead center in the road, barefoot, alone. She had this long white dress that looked like it belonged in another century, torn at the hem, dirty like she'd been walking for miles. Her hair was black, wild, hanging down past her shoulders. Couldn't see her face at first. Her back was to me. My foot eased off the gas. I wasn't even thinking. It was instinct. You see a woman barefoot and alone in the middle of the road at 3 a.m., your brain just assumes she needs help. Maybe she'd been in an accident. Maybe her car broke down. But as I got closer, things started feeling off. She wasn't moving, wasn't waving, wasn't trying to flag me down, just standing there, stock still. Not a twitch. Not even her dress moving in the breeze. Like she wasn't part of the world around her. That's when the truck lights hit her dead on and she still didn't flinch. I tapped the brakes, keeping the rig steady, rolled down my window just a crack. The fog crept in like fingers. Cold fingers. "Ma'am?" I called out. No answer. "Do you need a ride?" Still nothing. And then she turned. I've never seen someone move so slow. It wasn't natural, like she was on some kind of delay. And when her face came into view, God help me, her skin was white as paper, her eyes as weren't eyes. They were just dark, empty hollows. Not sockets, not burned out, just black, like staring into a tunnel that went nowhere. And her mouth was slightly open like she was mid-scream. Only there was no sound, just that damn fog hissing through my window. I didn't wait for her to move again. I slammed my foot on the gas and tore the hell out of there, tires screaming as the fog swallowed her up in my mirrors. I was shaking. Shaking. Me. The guy who once drove through a tornado warning in Kansas without blinking. I don't rattle easy, but that woman, that thing, put something in me I can't shake. Worse yet, the night didn't end there, because a few miles down the road, still trying to calm myself, I glanced in my mirror, and I swear on my life, she was sitting in my back seat just for a second, just long enough for me to swerve onto the shoulder and nearly jackknife the trailer. I didn't sleep that morning when I reached the next truck. Stop. I just sat there in the cab, engine off, staring at nothing, and it got me thinking. I've heard of this kind of thing before. Phantom hitchhikers, the midnight walker, paranormal road encounters. It's a common urban legend in trucking circles, especially on long desert routes where radio waves die and the sky turns strange. But I never believed them. Not really. Not until I saw her. So yeah. You might think I'm crazy. Just another tired trucker who saw a mirage on the highway. That's what I told myself at first too. But there's more, because that wasn't the last time I saw her. She came back, and next time she was closer. Once you see her, you can't unsee her. You can drive for days, hours from where it happened, and still feel her behind you. Closer, closer, like she's just waiting for you to stop. I didn't get any sleep after that first night. Hell, I didn't even kill the engine when I pulled into that rundown truck stop just outside Deming. I just sat there in the cab, drenched in sweat. Window cracked an inch like I was afraid she might slip in if I opened it all the way. kept watching the mirrors. I knew she was gone, but I couldn't shake the feeling that she hadn't left. You ever get that sensation like someone's watching you? Like there's a pair of eyes just out of view? That's how I felt every second that night, like she was behind me in the sleeper berth, crouched low, waiting for me to check. But I didn't. I couldn't. I just sat there, staring straight ahead, gripping the wheel like I was still on the road. The fog was gone, but the feeling wasn't. Around 5 a.m., I finally worked up the nerve to head inside the truck stop diner, one of those places that still serves burnt coffee in chipped mugs and hash browns cooked in 30-year-old grease. A few other drivers were already there, trading stories like always. I grabbed a stool and ordered coffee, trying to shake off the tension. That's when a guy named Roy slid into the seat next to mine. Rough-looking dude, must have been hauling cattle or scrap. You could smell the road on him. You look like you seen a damn ghost, he said, not even looking at me. I paused, stirred my coffee slow. I might have, I said. He glanced over, eyes narrowing just a bit. Let me guess, white dress, middle of the road, 3 a.m? My stomach dropped. He gave me a long, knowing look, then leaned in close. Tan said, "You saw the midnight walker." Roy wasn't the kind of man who dealt in fairy tales, but the look in his eyes told me he wasn't screwing with me. Said he first heard about her from a Louisiana driver who swore up and down she followed him halfway across the country after he stopped to help her. Said she never spoke, never moved, just showed up in reflections, rear-view mirror, window glass, sometimes the chrome bumper, sometimes in dreams. Roy told me something else that stuck with me. She don't show herself to everyone. Just the ones she picks. Picks for what? I asked. He shrugged, lips tight. Some say she's looking for a ride back to where she died. Others say she's looking to trade places. But once you see her, she walks behind you. Always. Hit the road again that night. Had no choice. The freight had to move. I told myself I was fine. Told myself it was just highway madness. A long drive, no sleep, desert tricks. But then, about 30 miles outside of Las Cruces, I checked my side mirror. She was there, not standing in the road this time, not waiting. Walking, barefoot, dress, dragging across the dirt shoulder, her head bowed, arms limp by her sides. No expression, no change in speed, just walking. Same pace as my rig. Like no matter how fast I went, she stayed even. The music went first. Static drowned the old rock station. Then the CB sputtered, just a burst of noise, and what sounded like whispering. I turned the knobs, checked the connections, nothing, just fuzz, and that's when I heard it. Not over the radio, inside the cab. A whisper, right behind me, just one word. Stop. I didn't. I hit the gas like a man possessed and didn't let up for 50 straight miles. Didn't stop for food, fuel, or sleep. Didn't even blink until I crossed into Texas. But I knew better. You can't outrun her. Truckers talk. We trade stories at diners and rest stops like old sailors used to tell sea tales in taverns. Most are just that, the stories. But some stick, like this one. The Midnight Walker ain't just a ghost story, she's a warning, a lesson wrapped in fog and fear and bare feet on blacktop. Once you've seen her, you'll never forget her, and no matter how far you drive, she walks behind. You ever visit a place that feels heavy, not just sad or quiet, I mean wrong, like something awful happened there and the land never got over it? Exit 6 is one of those places. After seeing her that second time, after watching her match my speed just off the shoulder, I wasn't the same. I didn't eat much, barely slept, kept the cab lights on even during the day. But worst of all, I kept checking the rear view, like I expected to see her, like part of me wanted to, I needed answers. I wasn't just scared, I was obsessed. And obsession's dangerous out on the road, especially when there's a ghost riding in your mirrors. A couple nights later, I was fueling up at the Petro off I-10, one of those big ones with 20 pumps and a diner that smells like bacon and burnt oil. That's where I met Red. He was easy to spot. Grizzled beard, patched up vest, and a look like he'd seen more miles than the road itself. I didn't ask about the Midnight Walker right away. You don't just bring that kind of thing up over pancakes, but Red, he clocked me the second I walked in. You seen her, he said, not as a question. I froze halfway into my coffee. He leaned in. White dress, bare feet, no eyes. I nodded. Slowly. She don't come to just anyone, he said. Only the ones she thinks will listen. That got my attention. Red unfolded an old highway atlas, yellowed pages, cracked edges. He jabbed at a spot with a cracked thumbnail. Exit 6, he said. She died right out there. Used to be a service road years ago. Now it's just sand and bones. According to Red, the woman had a name. Lena Cartwright, a hitchhiker from Kansas, headed west like so many back then. She vanished somewhere between Las Cruces and El Paso in 1977. A drifter found her body 6 months later, just lying there in the dirt. No shoes, dress torn, bones picked by coyotes. Whoever killed her dumped her without even pretending to care. No funeral, no grave. The locals didn't want her buried in the churchyard, Red said, voice bitter. She didn't belong. So some other truckers, old-timers, made her one of their own. That's when he told me about the mound. I had a half-empty trailer and time to spare. So I did something I don't recommend. I went back, exit 6. Comes up fast. No lights, no gas stations. Just a bent metal sign half swallowed by brush pointing down a cracked asphalt stretch that ends in nothing. I pulled off the road, killed the engine, and stepped into the night. It was dead silent. No wind, no bugs, just heat, that heavy smothering kind that makes your skin itch. About 20 yards off the shoulder I saw it. The grave. Just a mound of hard-packed dirt with a wooden cross sticking up from it like a warning. No name. No flowers. Just a single word carved rough and deep. Forgive. I stepped closer. Something about it pulled at me, and that's when the air changed. Not the breeze. The air. The temperature dropped like a switch flipped. My breath fogged in front of me. In the middle of the desert, then I heard it. A whisper, soft and close. Stop. I turned, nothing there. But I swear to you, the ground beneath my boots hummed. Not like vibration from a truck, this was deeper, like something below the surface was waiting. I didn't stay to ask questions. Back in the cab, I sat for a long time staring at that cross. If that was Lena's resting place, it wasn't doing much resting. The more I thought about it, the more I realized she wasn't stuck there. She was using that spot as a doorway, and we were the ones opening it. I remembered what Red had said. She don't show herself to everyone, just the ones she picks. So why me? What the hell did she want? Later that night, as I was pulling into a rest stop, the radio cut out again. That same burst of static is then silence, then, forgive me. A woman's voice, soft, broken, sad. I froze, looked in the mirror. She wasn't there, but I knew she was close, closer than before. See, most folks think truckers just carry cargo, boxes, pallets, crates. But sometimes, out on the loneliest roads, you pick up things you didn't mean to. Ghosts, regret, guilt, or maybe just someone who never got where they were going, and when that happens, you become part of their story whether you want to or not. You ever think you're alone, then realize someone's breathing behind you? Not loud, not fast, just steady, close. That's what happened to me at Rest Area 17. I should have kept driving. Every instinct in my gut told me don't stop, don't sleep, don't close your eyes. But exhaustion has a way of making decisions for you, and I'd been running hard. Hours of dessert, caffeine shakes, heart punching my ribs like a trapped bird. I needed a break, just a quick nap. That's all I told myself. So when I saw the sign for Rest Area 17, I figured 1 hour, park, lock up, recline the seat, then get the hell back on the road. Something was off the second I pulled in. Rest areas, even at 2 or 3 a.m., usually have 1 or 2 rigs parked. Drivers catching Z's, grabbing snacks, talking trash on the CB. Not this one, just me. One long line of empty spaces. Vending machines lit up like tombstones. No hum of idling engines, no footsteps. Nothing but the quiet creak of metal settling in the cool desert night. I backed into the farthest space and shut down the engine. Kept my lights off. The air was still, too still. I leaned back in my seat, hands still on the wheel, and tried to sleep. I didn't even last 10 minutes. It started soft. Knock, knock. 2 taps. Driver side window. I bolted upright. My heart just about stopped. I stared at the mirror, then the side glass, nothing. Then knock knock again, same rhythm. I snapped on the dome light, still nothing. But the windshield started to fog, just a patch, like someone was leaning against it from the outside. My breath caught, and then I saw it. Small, pale, thin fingers splayed across the glass. But it wasn't flat, it was inside the cab. That's when I felt the cold breath on my neck. I spun around, fist up like I had something I could punch a ghost with. The sleeper berth was empty. But something shifted in the dark, like a ripple, in the air. Like someone had just moved out of view a second too fast for the eye to follow. I reached back and hit the dome light for the bunk. Nothing, just shadows. But the smell hit me then. Lilacs, same as before. That soft, sickly perfume smell, like it had been sealed in the grave and opened just for me. I grabbed my keys and damn near jumped out of the cab. The air outside was warm again, normal, like none of it had happened. But I knew she'd been in there. She wasn't standing on the highway anymore. She wasn't pacing behind my trailer. Now she'd climbed in, and she wasn't planning on getting out. I checked the mirrors. Nothing. I turned off the lights. Her reflection stared back at me. Not beside the truck, not across the lot. Inside. Behind me, just for a second. Gone before I could blink. I made my way to the restroom, hands shaking, needing to splash cold water on my face. Needed something real to ground me. As I pushed the heavy metal door open, a motion sensor light flickered on. The place was empty, or so I thought. From the last stall at the end, I heard it, sobbing, then humming, then screaming. One long wailing cry that didn't sound human at all, like it was ripped out of something in pain. I backed away, and I saw bare footprints on the floor, wet, dark, leading from the stall to the door. I didn't wait. I drove out of rest area 17 like a bat out of hell. Trailer rattling, engine howling. Didn't stop, didn't check the mirrors. Didn't answer the CB when it crackled with static and garbled voices. When I finally pulled off the road an hour later, under the light of a busted gas station sign, I didn't sleep. Just sat there. Headlights off, doors locked, watching the dark, and every now and then I swear I heard her humming. There's something about her that ain't bound to one place. It's like once you see her, she sticks. Follows you across state lines, across time zones. You don't just encounter the midnight. Walker, you bring her with you, and every night after that, I felt her getting closer. Absolutely. Here's Chapter 5, The Man in the Ditch, continuing the Midnight Walker saga. The tension is tightening, the darkness is closing in, and now Travis isn't just haunted, he's starting to uncover the bigger truth behind the ghost. They found him with his rig still idling, and both doors locked from the inside. Only problem? He wasn't in the cab, he was 30 feet away, face down in a ditch, like he jumped or got pulled. After rest area 17, I was done pretending I could sleep this thing off. I kept driving, mile after mile, town to town. Eyes bloodshot, hands white-knuckled on the wheel. Every time I shut the truck down, I felt her, watching, waiting. And when I looked in the mirror, even in daylight, I sometimes caught the faintest shimmer of white behind me. A glimpse of her, dress, a shape where no one should be, a face and a blank grey remembered. But then I heard about a guy named Dale. The story came in over the CB late one night, somewhere between Odessa and Abilene. A couple of older truckers chatting like usual, except one of them dropped a name. Yeah, it was Dale Kessler, that poor bastard from Gila. Heard they found him in a ditch, rig still running, doors locked tight. That pulled me upright in the driver's seat. I turned up the volume and listened hard. The other guy asked, "Dale, the one who used to run the Arizona Loop?" "Yup." One and the same. There was a pause, then a low voice. "She got him." I keyed my mic. "Who's she?" Long silence. Then, "Don't. Ask on the air, kid. Just get off that route. She don't like when folks talk too much." Later that week, I stopped at a mom-and-pop gas station in Fort Stockton. Old guy behind the counter saw the haunted look in my eyes, like I'd been run over and dragged by my own rig. "You see her?" he asked. Didn't even explain. Didn't need to, I just nodded. He looked down, then leaned in. You heard about the fella found out on Route 20, 30 miles from Exit 6. Kessler? I said. He looked surprised I knew the name. Yeah, big boy. Hauled gravel. Used to be Army. Wouldn't scare easy. I waited. He didn't blink. They found him in a ditch, he said. Face down. Truck parked on the shoulder. Engine running. Cab locked from the inside. No signs of a struggle. No crash. Heart attack? I asked. He shook his head. His face was frozen in a scream, like he'd seen hell itself. Ain't no heart does that. I swallowed hard. Then he added, like it was an afterthought, folks say he saw her the week before, white dress, no shoes. That was enough for me. I drove out there, against every instinct I had left. Found the spot, just a bend in the road with a steep drop-off. Ditch deep enough to break your legs if you landed wrong. The police had cleared the scene, but the tire tracks were still there. Faint, fading, and something else, a single footprint in the dirt. Barefoot, pointed away from the ditch, not running. Not panicked, just standing, watching. I stood at the edge and looked down, no cross, no marker, just emptiness. And suddenly, I felt heavy, like gravity had thickened. Like something wanted me to lean forward, just a little, just enough. Then a whisper, "Come with me." I jumped back, heart jackhammering. No one there, of course not, but the air smelled like lilacs again, that same perfume. She'd been here, and whatever happened to Dale. It wasn't a heart attack. Back at the Petro a few days later, I started asking around. Quietly got a list of names, drivers who'd seen her. Some were still on the road, just barely. Others, dead, missing, quit without warning, every single. One saw her more than once, and that's when it hit me I was next. She doesn't stop with a visit, she follows, she chooses, she takes. They say ghosts can't hurt you if you don't acknowledge them. But out here on these blacktop veins running through nowhere, mirrors don't lie, and she lives in the mirror. There's something about truck mirrors that messes with your brain after enough lonely nights on the road, the way they catch. Just a flicker of light from the tail lamps behind you. The way they bend shadows, distort movement. But this was different, this was her. After I left the ditch at the spot where Dale was found, something changed. It wasn't just fear anymore. It was like I'd cracked some invisible seal, like I'd been marked every time. I looked into the rear view. I didn't just expect to see her, I knew I would, and every time there she was, pale face, dark eyes, white dress torn and hanging like it had been through hell. Just standing. Same distance behind the truck, no matter how fast I drove. She didn't walk anymore, she was just there. I told myself I was sleep-deprived, going crazy. Maybe it was the desert heat, the nonstop caffeine, the mounting guilt of doing. Nothing when I saw her the first time. But denial only works when your world still behaves and mine wasn't. Lights flickered inside the cab without reason. My GPS glitched and rerouted me in circles. The dash radio played an old country song I'd never heard before, one that ended with a woman whispering, "You left me there." After 2 straight days of highway and hell, I cracked, pulled, into a roadside motel outside of Midland, a place called the Sunset Inn. Should have been called the Don't Ever Stay Here Lodge, the way it creaked and smelled like damp carpet. But I needed a bed. Just 1 hour of real rest. I crashed face down, fully clothed, left the TV on just to keep the silence from swallowing me whole. That's when I noticed the mirror. Big thing, wall-mounted, right across from the bed. Normal enough, except for one detail. I could see the door behind me in it, and it was slowly, very slowly opening. In the mirror, the door opened wider. A figure stepped inside, bare feet, dirty dress. Long wet hair hanging over a blank face. I could see her, but I couldn't turn around. My body wouldn't move. My limbs were lead. My mouth was stone. Only my eyes worked, glued to the mirror, watching her move closer and closer. Until she was right behind me. I don't remember falling asleep, or blacking out, or passing over into whatever place exists between a dream and a death. But when I woke up, the mirror was shattered, hairline cracks spidering from the center like someone had punched it, only I hadn't. And in the sink, a single, wet footprint. I left that motel at full speed, rubber screaming on the lot. Didn't stop, didn't look back, didn't dare check the mirror until I was 100 miles away. And when I finally did, she was gone. But the mirror still showed something off. My reflection was slower than me, just by a beat, like it was remembering what I was doing instead of doing it with me. It was the first time I realized I wasn't just being haunted, I was being followed from inside the mirror. I stopped at a roadside chapel that night, not because I'm religious, but because I was desperate. Place was locked, deserted, just a cross on the hill and a wind chime rattling like bones in a storm. I looked up at that cross and asked one question. Why me? The wind didn't answer, but something behind me whispered, because you didn't. Stop. That fog doesn't roll in like weather. It's a doorway, a trap. And once you see it twice, you're already inside. I hadn't been on Route 66 in weeks, swore I'd never set tires on it again, but routes blur out here. You follow a detour, take a wrong exit, trust your GPS too long, and suddenly you're back where you swore you wouldn't be. Somewhere near Flagstaff, the sky changed. I'd been cruising with clear stars overhead 1 second, and then, boom, the world dropped into shadow like God flicked off the switch. Fog. Not the natural kind. This stuff didn't glow in the headlights. It swallowed the beams, swirled like it was made of breath and secrets, and it was cold. So much colder than it should have been in Arizona at midnight. That's how I knew it wasn't just weather. CB crackled. First time it had done that in hours. She's coming back. That voice wasn't mine, wasn't any trucker I knew, male but garbled, like it had been transmitted through a grave. I turned the volume down fast, didn't matter. From behind the seats, from the sleeper berth, from inside the truck, I heard it again. She never left. I slowed to a crawl, hazard lights blinking into the fog like tiny screams. That's when I saw the shapes, figures, just beyond the mist, dozens of them, people, men, women, children maybe, barely visible, standing still, all watching, none moving, but one figure was closer, white dress, long black hair, bare feet. She was waiting in the middle of the road, and this time I didn't floor it. I stopped, because something in me, deep, primal, told me she wanted the chase before. But now, she wanted me to listen. I got out, boots hitting asphalt. That felt like ice. The world was silent, and when I stepped closer to her, the fog behind her peeled back like a curtain lifting on a nightmare. I saw it. A crash. My truck, but not now. A past version. Crushed, upside down in a ravine. Flames licking through the twisted metal. There was a woman inside, her eyes locked on mine. Her mouth moved, not a scream. A name. My name. I dropped to my knees, gasped for air. The fog pulled around me like a noose tightening. It wasn't just a random ghost, not just a wandering soul. She knew me. And then it hit me. Years ago, I'd been on this same stretch. Pulled off after a long haul. A woman was hitchhiking. Crying, covered in bruises. I slowed and then I left her, didn't stop, didn't help, didn't remember, not until now. In that moment, she was right in front of me again. That blank, grey face. But now, her lips finally moved. You left me to die. And behind her, in the fog, all the other. Faces turned, the watchers. The others like her, some had trucker caps, CB radios in hand. Freight company logos on their torn jackets, all of them victims of this road, all of them left behind. The woman in white raised her hand, and on her palm, a burning symbol appeared. A wheel, broken in half, smoking like a brand. My chest seared. With pain, lifted my shirt. Same symbol glowing just above my heart. You drive the road. You carry the weight, she whispered. And just like that, she was gone. The fog collapsed inward, sucking back into the ditch like a reverse explosion. The highway was empty. The silence returned, but the weight stayed. I climbed back into the cab, turned the key, engine roared. But the GPS, it didn't show any roads, just one word. Return. And I knew what it meant. I wasn't just going back to where this started, I was being summoned. Some roads don't just take you places, they take your soul. And some ghosts, they don't want to be left behind. The dashboard light from the GPS blinked in relentless insistence. Return, there was no arguing with it. The silence in the cab felt like an accusation. The gnawing weight in my chest told me this wasn't just about driving back. It was about answering a debt I never meant to owe. I punched the accelerator and headed back toward the cursed stretch of Route 66, the place where the fog first swallowed me whole, where the midnight walker had revealed her face, where Dale Kessler's life ended, and where I'd made the fatal mistake I carried like a scar. The sun dipped low, bleeding orange and purple across the horizon. The world around me darkened fast. The temperature dropped with unnatural speed, a chill creeping into the cab that no heater could fight. I cracked open the window just a sliver, and the air rushed in, thick with that haunting perfume, lilacs and something metallic beneath. It was like the scent of a memory I couldn't forget. At the stroke of midnight, the fog rolled back in, thick, suffocating, an impenetrable wall of white that swallowed the headlights whole. This time, I didn't hesitate. No fear. No second guessing. Stepped on the brakes and parked right in the middle of the road. The engine ticked softly as it cooled, but the silence was louder than ever. And then, through the mist, she appeared. She was exactly as I remembered, a pale figure standing barefoot on the asphalt, her dress torn, eyes dark and endless. But this time she wasn't silent. In her hands she held an old cracked photograph. The photo trembled in the chill air, a faded image of a family, smiling long ago, a man, a woman, and a little girl. Her voice was barely more than a whisper, carried on the cold wind. "You left us." My throat tightened. I swallowed hard. "I didn't know. I didn't see you," I choked out. I thought you were someone else." Her eyes bore into mine, unblinking. "That road takes more than it gives back," she said. "More than you can understand. You have to make it right." The photograph caught fire in her hands, the edges curling and turning to ash that drifted away in the fog. She took a step closer. The chill deepened. "You can drive away," she said softly, "and your soul will remain here, trapped with the others who were forgotten. Or you can stay and help us find peace." Behind me, the road stretched endlessly, swallowed by the fog like a black hole. My headlights flickered and dimmed. I gripped the steering wheel with shaking hands. No way out. No escape. Only one choice. I reached out, taking the photo's ashes from the air. The fog swirled faster, a cyclone of lost souls, and then I spoke the words I never thought I'd say. "I'm sorry." The next morning, the highway crews found my truck abandoned just off the shoulder. No sign of me anywhere. But if you drive that stretch of Route 66 after midnight, some say you'll see a woman walking barefoot in the fog. And if you stop to help, well, maybe she'll let you go, or maybe you'll become part of the story. You ever see something on the side of the road that makes you slam on the brakes, only to realize it shouldn't be there? Like it's some kind of trick your mind plays, but way too real to ignore? That's where this story begins. I've been driving trucks for a good chunk of my life, logging miles across highways, back roads, and every kind of pavement you can imagine. You get used to the loneliness of the road, the endless hum of tires against asphalt, the flickering dash lights, and the static in your radio at 2 a.m. Most nights, the only company I get is my own shadow and the occasional stray animal skittering across the shoulder. But that night on Route 47, it was different. It was late. Real late. I was rolling through a stretch that cuts through the outskirts, dead trees lining the road, fog creeping low and thick enough to choke out the stars. Headlights barely pierced the mist, and my CB radio was just a faint crackle, no chatter, and then there it was. I spotted movement near the edge of the road, a dark shape. I slammed on the brakes, heart jumping. At first I thought it was just another stray dog or some critter lost in the fog, but as I slowed, the shape became clear. A dog, a scruffy black dog with matted fur and eyes glowing orange like little coals. In the night, it stood still, perfectly still, like it was waiting for me. I eased to a stop, rolling my window down just enough to hear the desert quiet. The dog didn't flinch or run. Instead, it tilted its head, those eyes never leaving mine. There was something almost human in the way it looked at me, like it was trying to tell me something but couldn't. I reached out the door, calling softly, "Hey, buddy, you lost?" Still no movement. Just those glowing eyes, locked on mine. Then, almost like a shadow folding in on itself, the dog slipped away into the fog before I could step out. I sat back, pulse racing. Had I really just seen that? Was I losing it from the long night and endless highway miles? I glanced in my side mirror. Nothing there but empty road and swirling fog. For a while I told myself it was nothing, a stray dog, maybe a trick of the light. But night after night, driving the same route, the dog kept showing up. Same spot, same quiet stare, same eerie glow in its eyes. I tried stopping again to get a closer look, but every time, the dog vanished the moment I stepped out. No footprints in the dirt, no signs it had ever been there, just a cold spot in the air where it stood. Then the rumors started creeping in. At the truck stops, in hushed voices, other drivers told me about a dog named Shadow, a black dog said to haunt Route 47. They said Shadow died months ago, hit by a car just a few miles down the road, yet here it was, or something like it. That's when the story shifted from strange to downright chilling, because it wasn't just a dog wandering lost anymore. It was a spirit, a ghost. And it wasn't done with me yet. If you thought seeing a ghost dog once was creepy, wait until it starts showing up when you least expect it, in places it shouldn't be. That's when the whole thing started to spiral. After that first night on Route 47, I kept telling myself it was just a fluke, a stray dog scared and stuck in the fog. But soon enough I realized the dog wasn't just a one-time thing. It was following me, and I don't mean just on the road. One night, I was parked at a rundown truck stop just off Highway 22. It was the kind of place where the neon sign buzzes. Overhead, the air smells of old grease and diesel, and the floors creak under tired boots. I was trying to catch some sleep in my rig, eyes heavy, the hum of the highway distant in the background. Then I heard it, a faint click-clack sound like nails tapping against concrete. I sat up, heart skipping a beat. The rig was pitch black, except for the soft glow of the dashboard. I flicked on my flashlight and swung the beam toward the parking lot. There, under a flickering street lamp, sat that same scruffy black dog, eyes glowing bright like embers in the dark. It looked right at me, like it was waiting for me. I rubbed my eyes, blinked hard, but it didn't disappear. I grabbed my jacket and stepped. Outside, cold air biting through the night. "Hey, buddy," I called softly, stepping closer. The dog didn't move, just sat there, still as a statue. I reached out my hand. The moment I did, it vanished, like a shadow swallowed by the night. No rustling leaves, no footprints left behind, nothing but the silence. I shook my head, thinking I must be losing it. But things only got stranger. The next morning I found muddy paw prints on the doorstep of my motel room. Muddy paw prints on my doorstep. I live alone. I don't own a dog. I checked all around. No dog in sight. No muddy tracks leading away. Nothing. I started asking around the local diners and gas stations, trying to get answers. Everywhere I went, the same story came up. Shadow. That's what the locals called it. A black dog that had been hit and killed on Route 47 months ago. They said Shadow wasn't just a dog. It was a spirit, a guardian, or maybe something darker. Some folks swore Shadow protected the good guys. Others said it was angry, a restless soul haunting the road. And then the warnings started. One night, after hours behind the wheel, I pulled over to rest near an old gas station. I was dead tired. I locked the cab doors and closed my eyes. But then I heard it again. Click, clack, scraping. Nails on metal. I opened my eyes to see those glowing eyes staring at me from the dark corner of the cab. The dog was inside. I flipped on every light, heart pounding like a jackhammer, but it was gone, like smoke. I started locking every door, windows, every time I stopped, kept my eyes peeled, waiting for it to show up again. Because wherever I went, that dog was there, watching, waiting, following, and I had no clue why. At this point, I wasn't just spooked anymore. The strange encounters with Shadow, the ghost dog, were messing with my head and my gut. It wasn't just random sightings on the road or the truck stops anymore. This thing was invading my life. I had to know why. So I started digging. First, I went back to the spot where I'd first seen the dog, the stretch of Route 47 just past the old gas station. The locals all knew the story, but it was one thing to hear it and another to stand there. The night air was thick with silence, the kind of silence that presses in on you, swallowing your breath. I talked to a few old-timers at a diner nearby. They called Shadow more than just a dog. One said Shadow had belonged to a kid named Tommy, who lived just outside town. The kid was known for being a bit wild, but he loved that dog like a brother. Then one night Tommy went out onto Route 47 with Shadow, and neither came home. The dog was found weeks later, mangled and broken, a hit and run that left the poor thing dead and the boy missing. Some say Tommy disappeared into the desert, swallowed up by the night, but the dog, Shadow, stayed, not just as a memory, but as something else, something that watches the road and the people who drive it. I felt a chill just hearing the tale. The next day, I went to the local police station trying to find any reports on Tommy or the accident. Nothing. Officially, it never happened. No missing boy, no accident report for a hit and run. That was when I realized this was bigger than a ghost story. Something about that stretch of road was covered up, like people didn't want me to find out the truth. And Shadow, the dog, was the only one left to remind me. The next few nights were worse. The dog wasn't just watching from a distance anymore. Shadow was closer. Too close. It'd appear inside the cab while I was driving, silent and still, eyes burning like coals. I started feeling like I was being followed, even when I wasn't behind the wheel. At gas stations, motels, even in my dreams, Shadow was always there, watching, waiting. One night I even heard whispering, faint, almost like the wind, but words, "Find him. He's out there." I wasn't sure who he was. Tommy, the driver that hit the dog, or someone else? All I knew was this wasn't just a ghost dog. It was a warning, and I wasn't sure I wanted to know what came next. There's a certain kind of silence that doesn't feel like silence at all. It's heavy, like the air itself is holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. That's what Route 47 felt like now, like the whole desert was watching me. Shadow wasn't just showing up anymore. It was demanding my attention, not with growls or barks, but with those steady glowing eyes that pierced through the night like twin lanterns. It happened one late, bitter, cold night when I pulled off to rest at a tiny, forgotten rest area near an abandoned mine shaft. The place was straight out of a horror movie, cracked concrete, rusted metal benches, and a mine entrance yawning wide like a mouth ready to swallow anyone who dared to get too close. The wind was howling low, scraping over the rocks, carrying dust and whispers. I was inside the cab, trying to catch up on paperwork, my fingers stiff from the cold. Then I heard it, a faint scratching sound coming from the truck door. At first, I thought it was some desert animal, maybe a raccoon or a coyote sniffing around. But the sound kept getting louder, more deliberate. I glanced out the window, and there it was. Shadow, sitting at the edge of the gravel lot, eyes glowing bright, like embers in a campfire. But this time Shadow wasn't just watching, it was waiting, like it had something to tell me. Slowly, I cracked the door open a little. The dog pushed its wet nose inside the cab, cold breath fogging the air, and around its neck was a collar, old, frayed, and covered in dust, but still hanging on. I reached out and grabbed the tag. The letters were scratched deep, almost carved by hand. "Find Tommy." My stomach twisted. This wasn't some random ghost dog. Shadow was a message, a warning. I thought about all the stories I'd heard. The kid named Tommy who went missing, the accident no one reported, the whispers that circled around the desert. Roads like vultures waiting for a carcass to pick clean. Something dark was buried beneath the dust and silence, and Shadow was trying to lead me to it. The next morning, I found something else. A torn piece of an old, yellowed map stuck under my windshield wiper. It showed a part of the desert I didn't know, a stretch of rocky hills near the abandoned mine, marked with a strange symbol that looked like an X. That symbol wasn't on any official maps. It was a secret, a place someone didn't want me to find, but I had no choice. The dog's message was clear. I had to find Tommy. I packed up, ready to follow whatever trail Shadow was leading me down. As I stepped outside, Shadow sat just beyond the headlights, eyes locked on mine, waiting, patient. Like a guide through a nightmare I couldn't escape, and I realized something that chilled me to the bone. This was no ordinary dog. This was the desert's secret, and I was right in the middle of it. There's a part of the desert where the sun burns the earth dry, and the wind whispers secrets only the dead remember. That's where Shadow led me, deep into the heart of nowhere. The morning was cold, the sky a dull grey, like the world was holding its breath. I packed my gear, checked my rig one last time, and hit the road toward the place marked on that tattered map. The highway gave way to gravel roads, then just tracks through sand and scrub. The GPS didn't know where I was anymore, and my phone had no signal, but Shadow trotted ahead like it knew exactly where to go. The abandoned mine sat, nestled in a rocky outcrop, its dark mouth yawning open, swallowing sunlight. A rusty sign hung crookedly, warning, "Danger. Keep out." I wanted to turn back. Hell, I should have turned back. But the dog was waiting. Its glowing eyes didn't flicker or fade. It was like it was daring me to come closer. I stepped inside the mine entrance, flashlight cutting through the thick darkness, the E. Air was stale and heavy, carrying the scent of dust and something metallic. Old blood, maybe. The deeper I went, the more I felt it. A presence. Cold. Watching. Waiting. Suddenly, the beam caught something on the ground, a small tattered backpack. Inside, a faded photo of a boy holding a black dog, a name scrawled on the back, Tommy. My heart hammered. This was no accident. No coincidence, I called out, voice echoing through the cavern. Tommy, if you're here. No answer. Just the sound of rocks shifting somewhere deep. That's when I heard it. Soft scratching, nails scraping the stone floor behind me. I spun around, flashlight swinging wildly. Shadow was there. Not just a ghost now, more real than ever. But then the air rippled. The dog vanished. A chill crawled up my spine, then from the shadows a faint whisper. Help me. I don't know what happened after that. Something in the darkness moved too fast to see. A cold hand brushed my arm. I stumbled back, heart racing. I left the mine that day with more questions than answers. But one thing was clear. The desert held secrets darker than I imagined. And Shadow wasn't just a ghost dog anymore, it was a guardian. Or maybe a warning. One thing I knew for sure, I wasn't done yet. You know that gut feeling when something's off, like the whole world's holding its breath, waiting for you to mess up? That's where I was when I turned the wheel back toward that cursed mine one last time. Shadow was waiting, sitting just beyond my headlights, eyes burning bright in the dark like twin warnings. No bark, no whine, just a stare that made my skin crawl and my heart race. I climbed out, the cold desert air biting at my neck. The wind whispered through the rocks, carrying 1,000 forgotten secrets. The sun was barely a sliver on the horizon, casting long shadows that stretched like claws across the cracked earth. Together we stepped inside the mine's gaping mouth. The darkness was thick, almost alive. My flashlight's beam seemed to vanish into the black like it was swallowed. Oh, I swallowed hard, knowing this was no ordinary ghost story anymore. Then I heard it, a low guttural growl that didn't belong to any dog I'd ever heard. My pulse thundered in my ears as a twisted shape stepped out of the shadows. A figure, half man, half thing. His eyes glowed red-hot like shadows, but filled with rage and pain. The boy from the photo, Tommy, but changed. Scarred and broken by whatever evil had claimed him. He spoke, voice like gravel scraping stone. You shouldn't be here. I demanded answers. Turns out the mine wasn't just an abandoned hole in the ground. It was a prison, a cage for a dark spirit, a creature feeding on fear and pain, trapped beneath the earth for decades. Shadow was the guardian, the dog who stood watch, trying to keep the evil locked away. But when Tommy wandered in that night, he got caught between worlds torn apart by the darkness. He died, or maybe didn't. He was trapped, a prisoner of the shadow, and now with me poking around, the balance was breaking. The shadow beast wanted out. Shadow lunged forward, fur bristling, teeth bared. The dark figure roared, the cave trembling like it was about to collapse. Light and darkness collided in a fury that shook the ground beneath us. I ran, not looking back, heart pounding like a drum of war. The growls chased me, echoing in the tunnels. I burst outside. Just as dawn cracked the sky open, the desert was silent again, but I knew it was just waiting. Shadow sat by the truck, panting softly, tail wagging faintly like it had won the battle. For now, I realized then, Shadow wasn't just a ghost dog. It was the desert's last protector, and the darkness was still waiting for the next soul to wander too close. So next time you're driving through those lonely desert roads, keep your eyes peeled, because sometimes the shadows aren't empty. Sometimes they're watching, and sometimes you might just hear the soft padding of paws following you home.